Yeah, I think we're good, Elijah. I think, obviously parking vouchers whenever you have them.
Yeah, of course. And then I'm just gonna leave some signage.
Yeah, and if anybody's looking for us, just direct them, We're supposed to have a decent number of people, I think, supposed to come.
See, I'm confused, cause like, they don't have a lot of people. I don't know if people are burnt out from ACL or.
I don't know, I can never predict. I'll have like 30 people on meetup say they're coming, and then some months I'll get 20 of them, and other ones I'll get 5 of them.
Yeah.
There's never any telling.
Very. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. I think we are good.
Sounds good. All right.
So I'll hunt you down if there's some emergency, but I think we're okay.
All right.
Cool. All right, and yes, and so you've been here, you know the drill. Basically, I'm going to give it time for people to flit in, and then I'll do my little intro spiel, and then we'll turn it over to you.
That sounds good. Is there anyone in the room currently?
There's one of my board members, and somebody just walked in. So we're up to, you have an audience of 3, and we will probably, it looks like people are getting here late this time, so I would say we'll probably start about 5 minutes late, because I generally try to get us to critical mass before we get going. Especially since when I have a speaker who I don't think is at any risk of using up the whole 2 hours, we can wait. Okay. Let's see, I will check my control to see if I'm late. Okay, and somebody even said AV good in the chat, so hooray. Yes, for those who tuned into the bad AV the last couple of months, thank you for bearing with us while we have slowly learned how to live stream. So we're going to keep making mistakes, but I'm happy that you didn't have to suffer through 15 minutes of bad audio like those other 2 times. And yeah, to anybody watching online, we're going to give about 5 minutes for people in here in person to trickle in, and then we will get going. Okay, you have a question to that? Yeah, we'll get started in about 5 minutes. We're just going to let people trickle in and then we'll get going.
Okay. I'm Bruno Schroeder.
Kevin, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Kevin. Just moved in from London to
London?
Yeah, the London, the UK.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Austin, Texas.
Thank you. Yeah, got a membership here in the Capital Factory.
Oh, nice.
I'm in cybersecurity for many years.
Cool. We definitely sometimes do talks more in that vein. This is more about technology governance here in Austin, but we cover a wide variety of subjects. So yeah, we'll probably have cybersecurity at some point in the next several months.
Okay, yeah, I'm very much in the fight for freedom of speech in Britain.
Well, I heard, Online Safety Act, yeah, there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on over there.
Yeah, I was in many, I was even organizing the earlier demonstrations and.
There's been some interesting laws the UK has been passing recently.
Yeah, and arrests. So from time to time, some people get arrested
I've heard
for just
about
no
that.
reason.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's last year was 3,000, 2 years ago 2,000. Because of this and because I'm in tech, I did a VPN service provider.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my business. Is trying to pay the bills, but it's still not going that well. But here in the Capital Factory, will.
Well, VPNs are a cool service. I make use of one myself quite frequently. So, but yeah, we'll give it a few more minutes for people to trickle in here, and then we'll turn things over to our speaker.
Is the central EFF in California, maybe, or?
National EFF is based out of San Francisco, and we're technically not they're not chapters based. We're technically a legally distinct organization. We just are tied up in a lot of the history of the EFF, basically a lot of the legal cases that led to their founding. We're tied up in some events that happened in Austin about 35 years ago. So we have a long history with them, even though we were a distinct organization. But we partner with them quite a bit. So.
And it's called EFF Austin.
Yes, we're legally distinct EFF Austin. And there's about 100 groups all over America that they work with. But we're one of the oldest groups they work with. But yeah. But yes, National EFF, the big nonprofit there in San Francisco. Yeah, I'll give my little spiel when I actually start here in just a minute.
Do you know the whole of Texas?
As I'll explain to you,
Okay.
we do a lot of stuff, mainly focused in Austin, but sometimes broader.
Excellent. Well, if you need anything,
Yeah,
happy to.
appreciate it. We hope we keep seeing you around. Yeah, I'll give it about, as I said, 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we'll go and get going, and the people who arrive when they arrive. I know at least 2 or 3 more people who told me to come. I don't actually think these things are hooked up to power. It throws me every time. You may need to try one of the wall plugs somewhere.
Maybe I can plug the whole thing for you folks.
Well, yeah, well, I don't, as I say, I never know why they're always unplugged, but they usually are.
Marlboro Land.
While we're waiting, I'll make sure I am ready with my intro spiel for Steven here. Always got to introduce our speakers. And Steven, you're good on your end whenever I pull the plug here and we get started.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
And you can still hear me okay?
I can still hear you. And so you're ready on your end. I'll probably get started in like 1 minute here, if you're ready.
Okay. Yep, I'm ready.
Yeah, we've already got like about 6-ish people in the room here, and I know at least 2 or 3 more are going to trickle in, so we're enough to get started. So let's see. Oh yeah, alright, we're hitting critical capacity here, we're going to get on in just a sec.
We are starting husband topics. Feels pretty tropical.
Alright. I'm probably gonna go and get things going here, and bear with me for a second, Steven. The angle to talk to the room and you at the same time is awkward, to say the least, so I may be at a weird angle to you for 1 second, but hang tight. Alrighty. Let's see. Alright, and actually, oh wait, I forget, actually, I should stay there, because the way this little screen is set up, I will just turn and face everybody there, because they won't even see me as I'm talking online. Okay, we'll stay there. Alrighty, and let's see, alright, okay. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get started here. This is addressed to the room and to people online. Welcome everyone to the latest monthly installment of the EFF Austin Meetup. My name is Kevin Welch. I'm the current president of the board at EFF Austin. And for those of you who are new and who are like, what is EFF Austin? Well, we are an Austin-based digital civil liberties organization. We work closely with Electronic Frontier Foundation based out of San Francisco. They're the nation's oldest and largest digital civil liberties advocacy group. You can kind of think of them as the ACLU for the internet. They work to protect your rights in emerging technological spaces, especially your First Amendment right to free speech and free expression and free association, and your Fourth Amendment implicit right to privacy. They've been around for about 35 years. We've been around almost as long as them. Anybody who wants to learn more, learn about the long history there. But we are the oldest member of what's called the EFA, or the Electronic Frontier Alliance. It is kind of a peer-to-peer activist network of about 100 digital civil liberties groups all over America. EFF works mostly on national legislation and policy, as well as some stuff in California, and you know, a few things in other states, and sometimes even in Europe, depending on need. Most of the EFA members are very city or state focused. As I said, we're the oldest member of the EFA, EFF Austin, and for a long time we were not only the only EFA member in Austin, we were actually the only one in Texas. So we were happy to welcome fellow Austinites, Open Austin, to the EFA recently. We do a lot of good civic hackathon tech advocacy. But anyway, yes, EFF, they advocate on a lot of issues like net neutrality, end-to-end encryption, protection of Section 230 of the CBA, expanding to other things like pushing back against privacy and security concerns around age verification mandates. You know, a lot of issues that are relevant that they advocate on. They're really cool people. I encourage you to give them your money and your support. But as I said, even if you're not based in San Francisco, there's probably an EFA group near you, or maybe you even want to start one. But yeah, as I said, we're primarily very city-focused, occasionally state-focused. We're primarily an educational institution that primarily takes the form of these meetups, which happen in person the second Tuesday of every month here at Capitol Factory at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah, we're always looking for speakers and new people to join the community, so feel free to reach out and get involved. We have a number of cool talks coming up over the next couple months. We should, in November, we're going to be hearing from our fellow Open Austinite and friend Aslan, who basically, with the aid of a LLM, despite not having any formal training in this, he created his own programming language, which I think is really cool. So we're going to hear about how he did that. And then in December, we're going to actually be hearing, tentatively, I think it's confirmed, from actually an old mentor of mine, Dr. Benjamin Kuipers, who used to run the computer science department at UT Austin. He's going to be talking to us about AI and ethics. Very fruitful Okront topic. So yeah, we got some cool programming coming up through the end of the year for you that we encourage you to check out. We also, as I said, we're primarily educational. We also usually throw a few parties each year around the holidays and during South by Southwest. You know, when we have the funds, when we convince eccentric tech billionaires to fund us, or I should say millionaires, I haven't met any millionaires yet. We usually have some fun cyberpunk parties, so if you know anybody ideologically aligned who wants to make community and fun happen, send them at me. Finally, we do some political and civic advocacy, mostly at the city level, a little at the state level. We were some of the consultants who consulted on what have become a couple of major laws here in Texas, the big data privacy law and now the big AI law. We provided some expert testimony on those bills. Here at the city level, our activism has done many things over the years, but most recently we've been one of the foundational members of an activist coalition called NoLPRs.org. We are basically advocating against automated license plate readers, which we and most other coalition members view as essentially a mass surveillance technology. We're happy to report that the coalition actually convinced the Austin City Council to suspend their one-year pilot program with FLOC. We're all very proud of that victory. Also, we're happy to report that the movement is spreading. Lockhart recently also rejected ALPRs, and actually just today, the Hayes County Commissioners Court also rejected ALPRs. So we're very happy with the growing movement. If you want to learn more, you can go to noalprs.org to learn more. There's also most major social media platforms. You can follow them. Also, speaking of social media platforms, EFF Austin actually has a cool little kind of, not RSS feed, but you know, essentially kind of a Linktree-esque service, a link aggregator. If you're just like, where do we exist online? You can go to effaustin.ong.local. That will eventually be effaustin.info once I remap the DNS. But it'll tell you where all our accounts are on services like Mastodon, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and others. So that's a cool new thing we just added. Also, to those in the room physically, may I point your attention to that we now have an easy way for you to essentially donate if you would like to support our efforts. You will notice a few QR codes around the room. Those would be a way you can one time or even set up a monthly recurring donation if you would like to support our work. So big thanks to our treasurer, Heather Barfield, for putting a lot of the infrastructure to make that possible. possible in place. And shout out to a few already recurring monthly supporters. I believe Doug Allison and Ben Sudsby, I believe, are contributing on a monthly basis already, so thanks to them. Yeah, so I think that's most of the immediate business. And so I guess I will give it over to our speaker, and I will turn it over to him. Oh, and also, if any of you parked in the garage and need a parking validation, come see me. I have them, and you can get much cheaper in the garage. So yeah, I'm going to introduce this month's speaker, and I will turn things over to them. Our speaker this month is Steven Apodaca. We're honored to be joined by Steven. Steven is the chair of the City of Austin's Technology Commission, where he leads efforts to advise City Council on issues of digital equity, telecommunications policy, and the responsible use of emerging technologies. In this role, he has helped shape recommendations on technology contracts, AI transparency, and public surveillance, and funding, while ensuring community voices are part of the city's decision-making process. In addition to his commission service, he serves on the Board of Austin FreeNet, a nonprofit advancing digital inclusion through community access and training. He's also a former Travis County Democratic Party Precinct chair, and he served as a national delegate to the 2024 Democratic National Convention. Professionally, Steven works at a Fortune 5 technology company as a change management leader, with prior experience spanning a decade at a Big 4 management consulting firm. We continue our, being very proud that we have some pretty heavy hitters who humble us by agreeing to come here and give talks. And full disclosure to the relationship that we have had with Steven and the Technology Commission as part of advocating that the city withdraw its use of automated license plate readers. We both worked with the Technology Commission to educate them on ALPRs so that they can craft recommendations to the City Council. And we also, as part of that work about it and also regulating the use of AI in the City of Austin, we came up collectively with a recommendation for third-party technology vendor contracts in general with the city going forward, and how there needs to be a lot more citizen transparency and accountability anytime the city is even thinking about partnering with such vendors. So we were honored that Steven, the Technology Commission, considered our feedback and advice valuable on that topic. But anyway, I figured I'd return the favor and educate all of you on what the hell the Technology Commission is, because many of you may have been like, wait, we have a Technology Commission? So yes, we do, and they actually do a lot of important stuff in this city. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Steven so he can educate you on what the Technology Commission does.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for the opportunity to speak to all of you. So as Kevin was mentioning, our commission advises Austin City Council on things like technology, telecommunications, digital equity issues that affect residents all across the city. And what I want to do tonight is just give you all a quick overview of who we are, what we do, and how our work connects to community technology, digital rights, and transparency. And these are all areas that I think, and Kevin and I have had conversations that I think the Edmond Boston community cares deeply about. Apologies I couldn't be there with you all in person, feeling a little bit under the weather, but we made a last minute pivot earlier today, and appreciate Kevin working it out so I could attend virtually, because I think this is important stuff.
We have a few people who are okay at technology here, so we figured.
For sure, for sure. So what are city boards and commissions? Well, Austin's boards and commissions, and many cities throughout the United States have them as well, are really how residents can directly shape city policy. Each group focuses on a different area. Some might be environmental issues, some might be public safety, and they give guidance to City Council. One other thing I should mention, members are volunteers. I'm not paid for this. The rest of the commission members are not paid for this. These are just everyday residents who bring their expertise, their lived experience, and civic decision making and passion to these bodies. So if you are passionate about an issue, Blind to Serve is one ways that you could have a direct impact on the local level. So let's look at how the Technology Commission fits within the ecosystem. This might be a little bit difficult for folks to see in the room, but essentially it's a list of the 50 plus boards and commissions that the city of Austin manages. So this Technology Commission focuses on technology, telecommunications, digital equity, but there are a number of other There's a water and wastewater commission that provides input and helps the city take a more granular look at some of the contracting that is done or wastewater management. There's also
I might do a quick sidebar, Steven, if you don't mind, and just point
Yeah.
out also for those in this room, I suspect they would care about it, maybe you were gonna mention them, but I'll also point out, the Public Safety Commission is a good one if you care about the way that law enforcement in Austin uses technology. I've been a witness talking about, their, what I consider, not wise use of technologies like LRADs for crowd control. So that's one probably I suspect a lot of people in this room, might wanna serve on or provide testimony to.
Yep, that's a good call out. The Public Safety Commission is certainly key, and I would say probably one of the more visible commissions, along with the Planning Commission, which manages zoning cases throughout the city of Austin. But the takeaway here is, no matter your interest or background or expertise, there's pretty much something for everyone. So whether you're into music, whether you're an artist, whether you're an engineer, or whether you're a technologist, like all of us here in the room, as well as virtually, there's a way that you could make an impact here locally. And as we all know, it's really difficult to make an impact at the national level, but doing it locally is where you can sort of get the most traction and where the most opportunity is. So encourage everyone to consider that. So what are some of the key areas that we're focusing on right now as a body? Well, our mission is to ensure technology serves the public good, and that includes 5 major focus areas. Digital equity and inclusion, so expanding access to affordable internet and devices. AI and emerging technology governance, so shaping those ethical frameworks and transparency policies. And we have had success in that group, both through recommendations as well as direct input to city council resolutions. One of the things that Kevin had mentioned here was public surveillance and privacy as well. So reviewing how the city is deploying tech like cameras and sensors across the city, and ensuring that these contracts aren't necessarily just approved on a whim, but the public really has the opportunity to weigh in, give their input, and call out some of the more concerning aspects around these technologies. Another area is broadband affordability. I think most of the folks in the room might be aware of the Affordable Connectivity Program that was recently ended, but certainly that for underserved populations, that's been a key area to get folks connected and access to the city. So that is certainly something that our commission focuses in on as well, ensuring that everyone in the city has accessible internet. And then, like I alluded to before, having that community input on sensitive technology contracts. So whether we're having a working group, working with Kevin, working with other folks like ourselves, making sure that we're providing that insight to technologies, and residents' privacy and rights are top of mind. So I think everyone would agree these priorities intersect with many of PFS principles like transparency, equity, and digital rights. So there's a lot of overlap here. Kevin, I want to give you a chance to weigh in as well. Is there anything here that I missed?
Well, I hope your talk will at least go into a little bit about the GTOPS program, because I don't know a lot about that, and I know that that is considered one of the big successes of your commission.
Yep, coming up on one of our slides. So let's look at some of the concrete actions we've taken recently. Recently we've advanced several key recommendations this year, including one to require community input, commissions to review those sensitive technology contracts. That's currently being reviewed by city council members, and hopefully we can turn that into
because we were intimately, mainly through me, but because we were intimately involved in the crafting of those recommendations, I'll leave it up to you. What did we recommend to council that they need to do when they're considering technology contracts going forward with third-party vendors?
Yeah, that's a great call out. So there were several areas that the recommendation touched on. So the first was ensuring that there's early notification and transparency. So making sure that that public posting and notification is in place to not only the public but to commissions as well. One of the things that we've observed is that these contracts go to council without very much notice, and as you all would agree, it doesn't give the community or even our commission an opportunity to necessarily weigh in. Another was ensuring that our commission, as well as the Public Safety Commission, have the opportunity to review those prior to going to council. And then another recommendation was ensuring that there is at least one public forum, listening session, or some way to gather stakeholder input from the average Austinite before council approval of those sensitive technology contracts. Outside of that, we did make recommendations on contract safeguards, so ensuring that the data is auditable, there's safety mechanisms, ensuring there's clear definitions around PII, mechanisms for community oversight, as well as outlining remuneration in the event of a breach, data loss, or ransomware attack. Because as you all know, it's only a matter of time until these systems get hacked, and they have a lot of really important data that could be weaponized against the community. And then outside of that, also ongoing accountability. So ensuring that whatever department is implementing these technologies have regular reporting to council on how they're being used, as well as prohibited uses. One of the major areas that I think Kevin helped us draft is ensuring that the prohibited uses follow standard frameworks that are widely adopted. So that's just a little bit of a deep dive into the more recent recommendation we made. Kevin, did I cover it sufficiently?
I think, we can literally, thanks to the city of Austin, there's certain places we need to do better on transparency, but I'll say the Technology Commission and most of the commissions do an admirable job on that. If you're really curious about what was recommended, this is a record available to the public on the city website. You can go see what was recommended to council, as well as part of the Texas Open Meetings Act, all commission meetings are recorded and archived on the city website. You can literally watch the most recent commission meetings. I encourage you to if you care about this stuff.
Yeah, well said. So going back to the slide here, we do have two current working groups, one focused on public surveillance and another focused on artificial intelligence, to ensure that we have smaller groups that can be more actionable, and then bring a recommendation to our full commission. And we want to make sure that that oversight keeps pace with that innovation. So that's where we have those smaller working groups. And then Kevin had mentioned GTOPs. So this is certainly a key area of our commission. I think I started about in the early 2000s, and our commission is unique in that we have oversight of a pretty significant grant for technology opportunities fund that the city manages to help fund nonprofits, either through device donations, digital upskilling, or just help them with their programming efforts as well. So there are a few different pathways for GTOPs, or the Grant for Technology Opportunities Award, and our commission has oversight on the graders for those grant applicants, as well as the final awardees. In addition to that, we also provide strategic guidance to how the program is being you see the picture.
What sort of groups should consider applying for a GTOPS? What activities is it meant to support ultimately?
Yeah, I think it's all of the things that so doing direct engagement with the City of Austin community. So I'll just give a couple of examples. So Austin FreeNet, which I'm the board of, they manage a computer lab in East Austin. They allow community members to come in, learn about how to navigate the internet, learn about how to navigate PCs, and they can get help with more technical areas as well. Another one just top of mind, Londonita, is that we partnered with really closely, do digital upskilling for young Hispanic girls as well. So, historically speaking, underserved, but also not a lot of engagement in the tech space as well. And a lot of their programming is unique because not only does it engage those K through 12, that K through 12 population, but it also engages their parents, who in many cases are not English speaking and need that same help and support for how to best navigate the internet.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then lastly, as highlighted on the slide here, we have also hosted digital equity listening sessions. So to gather feedback directly from residents on things like affordability, education, access. And Kevin, this is for you. We will be doing our next listening session in early February. So we're partnering with a few of the council offices, so we expect to have a really great turnout. The plan is to have a facilitated conversation and really geared directly to the community on what their lived experiences are around these areas and how we can help as a commission.
Well, let us know as the planning goes ahead. We'd love to help / be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with that, partnerships are really central to how we do this work. I've alluded to some of this as well. We have worked closely with community organizations like Austin FreeNet, Londonita's, Universal Tech Movement, EFF. I'm going to add you all to the list as well. But inside the city, we also collaborate with the EDD office. That's the Economic Development Department. And they're really our liaisons back to the city. They help manage that GTOPS grant. They are our liaisons to the city. They help manage and facilitate our meetings as well. And I know that group does a lot of digital engagement work as well. And then in some cases, we also partner with other boards and commissions. There's the Economic Prosperity Commission that we actually partnered with earlier this year to pass a recommendation around some transparency around boards and commissions meetings as well. So really the takeaway here is that our approach is simple. Community voices must shape our city's technology future, and through our engagement as commissioners, but also engagement back to the community in forums like this, that's how we strive to do that. So what's next for the commission? Well, we'll continue to advise City Council on relatively newer topics like AI governance, data privacy, and technology procurement. And we're also exploring tools like public-facing transparency dashboards to make it easier for residents to track each city project. In addition to that, we're also supporting policies that invest in digital upskilling, affordability, and accountability in AI use. Same things that we've been doing, just expanding to these emerging technologies. And then in the long term, you all are familiar with the budget from the federal government, or the lack thereof, but we are continuing to push and expand GTOPS funding so more grassroots organizations can access So if any of this resonates with you, here are a few ways to get involved. You can attend our monthly meetings. You can always provide comments on AI, privacy, or technology-related topics. I know we'll rely on Kevin and his expertise to continue to do that.
Well, I don't
as
know
well.
everything, so certainly we need other experts in this room to come and tell you guys what you should be caring and focusing upon.
Absolutely. Everyone is invited. Yeah, and then looking to partner our community on technology for digital equity initiatives. So if the listening session that I mentioned coming up in February is, if that sounds interesting to anyone, you can let Kevin know, get in touch. Happy to engage more about that. Maybe you're interested in serving on the Technology Commission or another commission. To do that, you can visit the city's website, materials, and put in an application to serve. But the takeaway here is that Austin technology should be shaped by the people who live here, and that really starts with participation, and I feel strongly about that.
I know you guys don't have any openings at the moment, but for somebody who does want to serve either on the Technology Commission board or another board, what is the procedure for that? And what, if any, professional background do you need to be considered to serve on the board?
Yeah, great question. So I'll start with how I got engaged. So I knew my council member a little bit before she was elected, and then after she was elected the first time around, I'm in the space, so I was really interested in digital equity, advocacy, those types of things. So I reached out to her one-on-one. But the formal process is to submit an application through the boards and commissions microsite. With that said, who knows how close the council offices are following the application submissions. So what I would recommend, if you are really passionate about it, submit your application and then reach out directly to said council office. But that's essentially the process. And I will say, like Kevin mentioned, we do have a full commission at the moment. But that's not to say that someone might resign or there's an attendance requirement. So if folks haven't been attending the meetings consistently, they'll drop from the commission. So I would say if you are interested in serving on this particular commission or another one, just keep checking back over the coming week and months because there could be a spot there.
And should somebody does somebody need to go, oh, well, I'm not like a tech CTO, so I shouldn't even consider applying? Like, are there any formal rules for professional qualifications to be considered?
Yeah. So I did submit my resume, but I don't know how to code. I'm not a CTO. I'm actually on the change management side of things at my company. So I don't have deep technology expertise, but I work with technologies on the people side of technology implementation. So I would say that it's not required that you have necessarily a deep understanding of digital topic areas. In fact, I would say it's what I've observed on the commission. It's good to have a wide variety of expertise, lived experiences, and understanding, because that really gets us to a really great outcome as far as resolutions, recommendations, and engagement. So absolutely not required.
What I'm hearing is if you were passionate about this topic and want to help your city, you should consider it.
Absolutely, yeah. Or any other topic. Maybe there's another board or commission that folks are interested in as well. So that's all I have at the moment. We can open it up to questions. Hopefully this is.
Yeah, and we love our discussions here. I will tell to anybody, so first of all, to anybody who's watching online, you're happy to drop any question there in the chat, and I will pass it along. To anybody in the room, due to the way the audio works, you will either need to kind of come up here where these mics are for Stephen to really hear you, or you can just say your question and I can repeat it so that Stephen can hear it. So it's whatever people find easier. Do we have any questions? And I see one right there.
Okay. So as far as all the council members you work with, can you hear me or you just want to repeat it?
Can you hear him or do I need to repeat it?
It's really difficult to hear.
All right, but you just stated all.
So what are out of all the council members you work with, which ones seem to be most enlightened and most in the dark about the issues presented? Nicest way.
With the asterisk that you are on public record right now, you are going out on YouTube to the public, you were just asked, which council members have you found get it on technology issues and are easy to work with, and who isn't? Answer as much or little or as tactfully or not as you want.
You know, my council, Mayor Pro Tem Fuentes has been an amazing partner in all of these topics. She has been at the forefront of putting forward resolutions, recommendations around AI. I think, at least in recent memory, she was the first one to really engage on those topics as well. And then in addition to that, I would say that both she and Councilmember Kadri and Harper Madison have been amazing supporters of GTOPS and the recipients of those grants. I was just at an event this past weekend, Tech for All Fest, and there was representation from the D1 office there. So I would say, speaking honestly, I have not had a negative experience with any council member, but there have, I would say, there have been leaders in the space.
And I guess my continuing his tactfulness of saying who we like instead of who we don't, I will say that at least on the issue of automated license plate readers, the by far biggest ally on council is District 7's Mike Siegel. So shout out to Siegel for all the work he's done on that issue. We also got some questions for head of the Technology Commission. Don't make me ask all of them. We got a room full of smart people here. Yes.
What makes a recommendation, or if he has ascertained this in the past, what makes a recommendation more likely to be adopted than not?
Question is, from your experience in the past, what makes a recommendation more likely to be adopted or not?
I would say, and we have had a number of recommendations become city policy. I can give a few examples of that. So after the emergency declaration ended at the state level, boards and commissions were required to go back to meeting in person. And as you all know, in this digital world, that's just complicated. So
What,
we were
we
able
don't all
to
gotta be right back into the office? What are you talking about?
Shocking, yeah. And especially something like this, where it's volunteer. A lot of times it's a headache to make it down to City Hall after the workday. So one of the recommendations that we put forward a few years ago was for hybrid meetings. So essentially, only the chair, myself currently, has to go and facilitate the meeting, and all the other commission members can be online. So I will say it's helped with quite a bit of retention of commissioners, which has paid off in other ways because we keep that institutional knowledge. So that's just one example. Another is a voting calendar database that we made a recommendation on to be part of the city council website. It essentially tracks every city council member and how they voted in a spreadsheet. I think it's in a CSV format, but you can go and find that today if you'd like. That was one of the recommendations that we made a few years ago. So what makes it a great recommendation? I would say it's those types of things that are just that are common sense, but also making sure that individual commissioners are engaging with their council member up front, understanding where the appetite is, and then drafting something that's going to help the community in some way.
Awesome. Yes.
Actually, please perform.
Oh, okay.
Cindy has a question.
Okay, thank you.
explain your vision and what you mean by digital equity?
Question is, what does digital equity mean to you when you use that phrase?
Yeah, to me, it means, it's all the things around accessibility, adoption, so folks having equal access to the internet, to digital resources, to education, all of those things.
Cool. Let's see. Alright. If we don't have another question yet, I can always ask one. Alright, let's see, let's see. What is a place where you feel the commission is, and I'm not speaking this as anything to do with any of the commissioners necessarily, but what's a place where you see the commission maybe is not functioning as well as it should? A place where you look and go, this commission owes it to the city to deliver on X, and we, for whatever reasons, have struggled to accomplish that.
Yeah, I would say that that's an easy one. I would love more engagement from the community, from advocates at our commission meetings. Regularly, we don't have any signups for public testimony. I think we've had one, maybe two this year, and so it's relatively uncommon. And given that Austin is such a hub for this talent and for this type of knowledge, it's a little disappointing because it's on us as commissioners to go and find those relationships, which is one of the reasons that I'm here with you all today, to showcase the opportunity. So if there was something that I would improve, I would say it would be public engagement at our meetings as well as individually.
Do you have a speculation on why it's been harder to get public engagement in these? I mean, is this a problem with city commissions in general, or something specific to this commission?
I would say it's relatively widespread, but there are commissions that are a little more visible than others. So we're thinking about the Public Safety Commission, the Planning Commission. Those have historically had really high engagement from the public, just because of the topic areas and the decisions that they're making. So would love to see us model that level of engagement.
And I guess, do you have some speculation on maybe why, if we think of this as a technology forward town, thoughts on why the technology community has historically not been interested in how technology is governed or regulated in this town?
Because they're all immigrants.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that is on us as well. I think there's an opportunity for us to proactively engage the community and showcase that these commissions exist and we're making, we have an important role to play in the city. So yeah, hopefully you all can come, give us input, feedback, and tell your friends.
I'll come up there.
Yeah, sure.
Question.
And actually, I may have to cut you shortly because I am running low on power, and for some reason the wall does not want to charge my laptop. I do not know what is going on.
Where should I get to?
That's where the mic is.
Okay,
That's
all right.
there.
Hi, one question I have about the commission is, I wonder to what level of detail y'all get involved. For instance, Kevin mentioned the automatic license plate reader issue. I work with a group called Grassroots Leadership, and we're involved in a lot of criminal legal system related and civil rights issues. But so my question would be, like, this Austin Police Department is considering adopting Technology X. To what degree does your commission get involved in actually looking at the detailed specifications of what the technology is and does, and who the various vendors are who might be proposing to the police department, here's a whiz-bang thing y'all ought to get? Do y'all look at those proposals, or what, or is it kind of like you find out after the fact, after the police department's already decided on a new technology? How does that work?
Yeah, we are not City of Austin FreeNet. So we find out about these things the same time as the public does. But in
to one of our people. I'm now actually being able to turn on top again. I don't know what's going on, but we are not about to get cut off. So, any more questions? Yeah, we go.
How would you describe the mentality of the commission balancing the desirable attributes between like big tech companies and individuals?
How does the commission balance the needs of big tech companies, which admittedly provide a lot of jobs and power a lot of the city's economy, with that their business interests do not often, or sometimes almost never, actually serve the real tech needs of ordinary citizens? How does the commission balance those competing pressures and priorities? Because I'm sure you're not just hearing from citizen advocates. Sometimes you're hearing from dudes in suits who run companies who may want you to do different things than we want you to do.
Yeah, so actually, our November commission meeting, we have broadband providers scheduled to come and give testimony, and those are some of the questions that we plan to ask them. So, especially with the ending of the Affordable Connectivity Program, I'd like to know what community engagement the broadband providers are doing, affordability options, those types of things. So looking forward to having a productive conversation with those companies.
I don't envy having to say professional. Let's see, more questions, especially from anybody we have not heard from yet. Always like to hear from the whole group. And of course, I can give us a few more too while people are thinking of things. And of course, as always, I'm always happy to give everybody their time back if the conversation runs its natural course. Let me think. All right, I'm going to get into a history nerd question. So, actually, long ago, one of the FF Austin board members, Courtney Rosenthal, actually served on the Technology Commission. But back then, the Technology Commission, I believe, was done by another name, like the Telecommunications Commission or something. Do you know? I mean, maybe this is before your time, but do you know a little bit about the history of why the board was renamed and why its purview was sort of changed? Because my understanding is the original version of this board came into existence in the early 80s to essentially regulate cable television in Austin.
Yeah. Wonderful flashback there. Yeah, the name of the commission has been changed a few different times, as recently as earlier this year. So we were originally, well, since my time on the commission, we were CTTC, the Community Technology Telecommunications Commission. As y'all can guess, it's a mouthful. It's not as approachable to the public, so we shortened it to just the Technology Commission. And definitely, like you mentioned, much of those television regulation has actually gone to the state. So rather than the city of Austin managing all of that, all of it's just like naturally been assumed by the state. So, as a result, our commission has evolved to focus on some of the issues we talked about that perhaps were not around in the early 90s.
Well, that prompts an interesting follow-up question, which is, do you see the commission's role potentially getting lessened again, as much like initially cable was not very regulated and then the state started regulating it? We already see the state in the last 2 years has started to pass data privacy and AI laws to regulate at the state level. And we also know that Texas, despite certain pronouncements from some of our leaders, often loves to preempt local city control if they don't think cities are governing the way they want them to. Do you see the latitude of the commission to set forward-thinking policy that is relevant to this community being abrogated in the future as the Texas legislature gets more and more interested in providing, optimistically one could say guidance on regulation, and of course cynically one could say control on these issues?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would suspect that these emerging technologies are moving so quickly that at least at the state and national level, they can't keep up as quickly. So there's certainly the opportunity to fill that gap here at the local level. Could our scope continue to evolve and change? I would say absolutely. But yeah, as far as like emerging technologies go, I think that we will always have
Is there anything that is very specific to Austin in terms of emerging technology that you see the commission having a role in, that's very specific to us as a community in a context such that it really is the commission's role to lead the way, because it's very specific to what's going on here in Austin. I mean, you know, I think about things that I think are very specific to Austin here in the moment and aren't going on many other places in Texas. Might be things like the rollout of Waymo driverless vehicles, the emergence of security robots in certain parts of town. You know, I'm just anything that's very specific to Austin that you don't maybe think is getting reported or talked about very much yet, but much like now, everybody's aware of ALPR. As you go back 5 years ago, most people are like, what's that? Is there anything you're tracking as specific to Austin that you want the commission to lead the way on?
Yeah, certainly all the areas around community technology. I think that outside of the rebranding that's taking place, I think there's an effort to revamp the City of Austin website. So that's something that we want to make sure that we keep a close eye on and have an opportunity to provide input as a commission representing the community. Certainly digital skills, as they continue to evolve with these emerging technologies, that's something we want to continue to invest in. And one of the biggest things I'm concerned about is internet affordability. We only have 3 broadband providers in our area, and then in many cases, only a single broadband provider providing services throughout. If you look at individual development of projects, in some cases, there's only a single broadband provider. So best thing we can do is have multiple providers and have that competition in place, so that there is a variation of both affordability as well as quality. So that's something I'd like to continue to explore and help influence.
I have some thoughts, follow-up questions to that, but I have somebody else a question for you.
So are you going to bring every single URL as part of the rebranding of the website?
Yes, one question I had for you is, interesting you bring the city website. The city website is infamous with a troubled history. Does the commission have thoughts on how to prevent things like the disastrous rebuild of 10 years ago that wasted a lot of money and made it hard for citizens to find legally required services?
I suspect that those types of issues will not occur again. And then what I will say is, I mean, if you've been following the City of Austin website for the past, let's see, I got to Austin in 2018, and before that, I don't know if you all remember, but the layout of the website was department focused. So this is probably alluding to this is probably what you were alluding to, Kevin. Department focused. So thinking about the end user, you know, if I want to know how to adopt a pet, if I want to know how to pay my bill, if I want to know how to pay my parking fine, not necessarily the easiest to find, not necessarily the best experience.
Any workflow that involved going across multiple departments, it was not optimized for that.
Exactly. So now, if you go to the city website, those types of things I just mentioned are a little more front and center. So I'm just speaking for myself, I've seen significant improvements. So I would say that, you know, I'd like to understand what the changes are going to be and just offer that feedback, thinking about the average citizen in mind who isn't going to the City of Austin website on a daily basis. They're just there to do, you know, one transaction or change their address or something like that.
And then there's one thing you said when you were talking about things that made me think of something I wanted to ask you, but it is escaping me at the moment. Do we have more questions? And it is also cool if we are starting to run out of course, but let's see. Do I have any final ones before I will let Steven get some rest and finish getting over his bug? Let's see. Any final things I want to ask you? Yeah, so I guess like, I guess maybe a question I have is what do you see see as the long-term future of the commission and just kind of citizen governance around technology in general? And I say this in kind of the context of, we live in a time of extremes, and it seems we get only two narratives around technology. It's gonna solve all our problems, or it's going to, if not kill us, it's going to like put us all out of work forever, or to plunge us into a disinformation hellscape. We only hear like it's literally going to like ascend us to a higher plane of existence or we all die. And I don't think that's a very practical way to live or to govern. And so like, I'm curious, what do you see as just like the actual needs of citizens in the 21st century living in a highly technological society? Although, once again, speaking to some of what you talked about equity, I think it can be easy for very tech-savvy people like us to forget that, like, as you said, there are still tons of Austinites in our community who, like, struggle to know how to even use a computer or a smartphone. And so, like, how are we both looking to the future, but also not leaving people behind? How are we building a Austin the future where technology works for us and not the other way around, as I always like to put it?
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, the scope of our commission has continued to evolve. But I will be very honest. All commissions are advisory bodies, so all we can do is bring our lived experiences, bring our recommendations as citizens. In some cases, we can formally make those recommendations. I know in some cases I've had individual conversations with city council members, but ultimately they are the ones who pass policy and rulemaking for the city. But I think that council members do recognize that these boards and commissions are made up of in some cases subject matter experts, where they do want to learn more about some of these topics. So I think that's where our role really lies. Being most folks on our commission work in tech, so able to bring that perspective, that knowledge, that experience, and perhaps provide insight to the policy making process that wouldn't have been there otherwise.
And I think my last question for you, unless I get another one from the room here, would basically be, this is a slightly maybe harder question, but it's I think it's always important to look at the ways we're doing things and ask could we do it better. As a lot of us in this room have seen recently, there often seems to be a big disconnect between what the citizens want their city to do when it comes to technology regulation and what many of our own elected council members, who, as you said, are ultimately the ones who have to set policy, seem to believe we all want. And now, I don't plainly speak for the entire city people with our views. There are plenty of people who feel differently, and it can be very hard to know what true majority opinion on any issue is. But I know for a lot of people who are informed about technology and care passionate about these issues, it can often feel like the city, our council members are supposed to be there to represent our will, and it often, whether or not this is actually true or not, I think I can speak to there's sometimes a perception of that rich, powerful, connected interest groups are catered to, and what citizens actually want when it comes to topics about what many of us view as potential surveillance of citizens is ignored, not listened to, and we literally have to do very public, huge demonstrations to feel like anybody's listening to us. And so, as you said, ultimately the commission can only advise. It's our elected officials who actually set these policies. Why do you think there seems to be, and as I said, one could be cynical, one could be optimistic, but why do you think there seems to be this disconnect between what citizens want their city to do when it comes to the safeguards in place to protect the citizens and what they actually end up voting for, where we have to keep swatting down these suspect third-party vendor contracts, to put it bluntly?
Yeah, I think from a procurement standpoint, as you've seen, you've seen these council agendas. There's a lot.
Oh yes, there can be 150 items on 1 week. I don't envy having to go through it.
Yeah, our council members are human too, and if city staff is making a recommendation, that counts for a lot. So going back to your ultimate question, I think that keep an eye on those items coming to council, reaching out directly to council members to raise the flag on some of these issues. And then, more formally, if there is concern, come to us, come to our commission. We can help to facilitate that conversation or make a more formal recommendation.
And, this is actually where I will end things on a more hopeful note, which is, I've often said, that one reason we do what we do is because the technology community often feels very politically disconnected, and they often are like, why should I even engage? They don't care, they don't listen to me. And often it is true, it feels like they don't care and they don't listen to me. But I can say, you still need to engage because there are victories and successes. As I said at the top here, we did get our flock contract canceled, and now one has been rejected in Lockhart, and one has been rejected literally today in the Hays County Commissioner Court. And for those who maybe don't know or just haven't been tracking this because this is a more European issue, there was big concern over the European Council passing what is called chat control, because of immense public pressure against it, Germany came out against it, and that is at least forestalled for the time being. So, the fight's never over, but I would always encourage people to get involved because we definitely won't be listened to if we don't make our voices heard. I do think I have one final question.
I was curious, have the flog guys tried to go after you for basically ruining their business?
Well, more us than the technology. I think we've been more public facing than the technology, which I'll let Steven tell me if he's gotten any strange knocks on his door. But at least so far, they've not escalated to harassing my board or any other coalition ally board members that I've at least been informed of.
I have not engaged directly, and they haven't with me, so.
Yeah, and I guess to those who may be less familiar watching in the room or online with Flock as a company, I can tell you it is not just general high-minded concerns about surveillance we have around automated license plate readers. Flock as a company in particular is quite shady. They have broken the law lots of times in the communities they've been in. So if you were watching from another city, yes, you should really do some research and try to educate your local elected officials on that, regardless of how you feel on this issue and whether or not you think ALPRs count as surveillance. I think it's pretty clear they do, but maybe you feel differently. I would still encourage you to research Flock as a company because, the argument for them is that we care about the rule of law and we want to catch people who break the law. Well, Flock doesn't care about the rule of law either. They break it all the time. So I think that is something we should try. Any final things or else you want to leave us with, Steven, before we leave your evening, Matt?
No, I appreciate the invitation. Appreciate all the amazing questions, and looking forward to engaging with you and your membership more.
Yeah,
Hopefully this is the beginning.
Yes, I will. As I said, we look forward to chatting with you about the event you have coming up next year. That sounds very interesting. I would really like to see how we could help make that be a fruitful partnership for everyone.
Certainly.
Awesome. Well, unless we have any final questions, let's give Steven a big round of applause. And as I said, for those of you in the room here, I've got parking vouchers if you need them. We'll also probably go out to the lobby bar and get a drink for anybody who wants to stick around. We'll be back here same time next month, second Tuesday at 7 p.m. You're going to hear from Aslan about designing his own programming language with AI, which is going to be really cool, guys. So let's definitely come to that classic nerd one.
Happy birthday, Kevin!
Oh, well.
Happy
Oh,
birthday!
Lord. Yes,
Everybody like happy birthday!
Yes, it is my birthday indeed. And I will forgive Steven for not being here to buy me a drink because he got sick like
Did I get it? Today's your birthday, Kevin?
Yes, it's my actual.
That's private.
Yes, everybody's gonna hack you now. Okay. All right, thank you so much, Steven, and we'll see you again soon. As I said, always feel free to pop in on our meetings, and if you guys ever could use testimony at your meetings, we're happy to send somebody your way.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everyone.
You
Bye.
too, thank you. Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't working. So weird, but Lewis to the rescue with his power. Yeah. Anybody else need parking vouchers?
Yes, I know.
Yeah, it's really expensive if you don't use them, so. It's not free, it's like $8 instead of the like $35 you have to pay. And as I said, if I know they work if they're out before 10, they sometimes work after that, but I don't know if they're out. Yep. Well, that was great. You came to the rescue. I was like, well, you know, live streaming needs a ton of battery, and the wall was not working.
Oh, I have photos in my car. I forgot the rest. Cable and Ian audio, so you could ask, give this to Alan for questions.
All right, so basically,
Yeah, I know, I mean, I haven't used it. Actually, used this once in the hammer mill, which is why there's. Well, you see this red part that's like a little shiny over there? I use it to hammer it out.
everything is more interesting than this.
And you can hammer it out.
Really?
I didn't.
I mean, no, because I just thought, I mean, it has voice, it's battery control now. Okay, we'll figure it out, yes. As I say, I'm still learning all this.
What I did here was somebody landing on the plane. So that means, he's still running around in there, he's not in the cage yet. There's traffic. And he has knocked the insulation down from one of the windows. I cleaned it up, much more about to fall. That's
Okay, yes. Okay, yes, right. Of course. Nice to meet you in flesh. Yes, come to our, Oh, wow. What,
Getting arrested for
is that really happened to you?
Yes.
Wow, well, what were you working on that you were able to scapegoat if you were at liberty to tell me? Okay, you're based on use of NDAs and. Wow, that's what I mean, it's big tech, I don't believe any record, I don't want to. Wow. Well, frankly, I don't, as I said, you may not, you might be able to come up with much better, but frankly, I think we're a bad case of all that. We're helping people who've been blacklisted. I don't know how much you were involved in this, but I always about 5 years ago, that on like APT's graduation year out. I always pointed that to Jordan, like nobody else is even dying or people being used locally that they didn't want us to know about. I mean, it sounds like something Chris Harris and I would produce. He's a voice of nature.
Anyway, it's good to meet you.
I hope we'll see you next month. It'll be just more pure nerdery of how to learn major programming language.
Seriously.
But they have to actually work on staff, they're trying to,
Profiling, what should you do? This whole thing is marketing, yeah, so it's a slingshot with Dennis. Or if you search.
Wow.
You found it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually
So that's me.
You guys
Yeah.
around with us today?
Oh, yeah, it's not, it's this slingshot skill.
Very funny.
Well, are you ready?
Until 10. Yep. So, let's see.
So then, with prices like this though, then, to make it still a sustainable, profitable venture, like your ideal customer would be a whole corporation. You charge for account use. It's pretty cheap. Right?
Yeah.
But it's,
So, I mean, I think like this is let's go.
But presumably twice, because, yeah, but right there, right, so presumably twice, oh, I would still be recorded.
Okay, I think we are. All right, well, we could.
So,